and welcome to today's webinar, Simple SEO, How to Build Trust with Google. I'm glad to be here today as one of your hosts. My name is Jenny Silvers, and I have my co-host, Michelle Letman, right next to me.
Hey, everyone.
Steve's also here, and he'll be helping us out by answering any of your questions throughout the webinar. We're really excited to have Bob presenting today. He's our top SEO expert here at Surefire Local, and I know you all will learn a lot from him. If you have any questions for him during the presentation, with us using the question box in the webinar control panel, that's going to be on the right-hand side of your screen. So why don't you go ahead and see if you can locate that right now and let us know where you're joining us from today. While you're doing that, I will pass it on over to Bob.
Thank you, Jenny, and welcome everybody to the webinar. I really appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to spend it with us today. The topic of today's talk is simple SEO, how to build trust with Google. And it's about, search engine optimization, about the idea of what we do to websites to make them do better in search, to make them more prominent. And as you'll see as we go through this presentation, it is all about trust. And we'll show you different ways that we can deploy that will help Google to trust your website more and to help you understand what needs to be done in order to achieve that trust with them. In the course of today's talk, we're gonna stop a couple of times and take a couple of breaks. We'll also have opportunities for Q&A. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to put something in the chat window. We'll either answer them right away or we'll hold them till the end. But there will definitely be an opportunity to ask and have questions answered. And at the end, we're going to give away a Google Home Mini to one lucky attendee. So hang on till the end, and you will find out if you win. So this is me. What I do here at Surefire is I work on different kinds of SEO programs. I work on strategy. I work with customers. I do a lot of different things. But one of the things I really enjoy doing the most is this SEO side of the business, the search engine optimization. And so what we're going to talk about today is how to do that, the local side of that, the local search engine optimization correctly. How to leverage multiple channels to get better visibility online, how to show up in places like local listings and maps and what reputation means, and how to connect signals, right? Different kinds of things that we do to increase search engine rankings. And lastly, to understand the link between the website, the reputation, how all that drives brand awareness, and how we tell Google where you're located so that you can show up in search where you need to show up. So this is the kind of the landscape we're looking at. These are the bigger search engines, the ones that you hear the most about. There are literally hundreds beyond this that we don't necessarily talk about, but these are the biggest. We certainly think a lot about all of them, but the one we really take action about is Google. Google right now it has about 80% of the search engine market, right? So when somebody's going to be searching for something online, 8 out of 10 times they're going to do that on Google, and that's been a steadily growing market share for a very long time. I remember not long ago it was 45%, and it's just been up and up and up and up. And the reason for that is that the visitor trusts the results, right? The visitor knows that when they go to Google, they're going to get a good result that will be relevant to them and that will give them basically what they want. And that's changed over the years, right? For those of you who have been on any of these webinars before, we use this slide a lot. This is important in terms of understanding how things have changed and what's happening now. But if you've been doing this a while, you remember when it was just keywords, right? You would go to a page and you would figure out what keyword you wanted on that page, which would ultimately drive a customer. You'd have some kind of product name or something relevant to the business. You'd build a page for that. And if you put that keyword on the page more than other pages that were out there and you worked it into the text, you could get people to come and click on that and ultimately generate leads. Because of the kind of the sorting out of all of this over the years and the number of people that are trying to rank for all of these words, the game has changed. And sometime around 2007, it became a much bigger prospect, where not only were we managing what was said on websites and the kinds of words that were used and the strategies around what we did with websites, but we now had to think about web services, and it became a content game, not only on your website, but places other than your website, like directory listings and other sites and blogging sites, and there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So it became a much bigger problem. And then around about 2016, as the percentage of people who 24/7 have a smartphone in their hands, as that phenomenon became important, location became much more important, where now we think about not only the best search for a visitor, right, but we want to be the best search for a visitor that is the closest best search for that visitor. And how we do that is matching the location of that smartphone with the location signals that come from the website, and the anchoring of that website in the internet, so that everybody knows where everybody is and Google can put us together. And so we think about location a lot. We think about the kind of the four pillars of this recency, relevance, prominence, proximity. And when all of that works together, we get dominance in your local market, and visibility in your local market. So that's the thing we're thinking about all the time, is how to work those signals. And it's a multi-touch customer journey. It used to be, you had a website, you paid a lot of attention to it, you wrote some great copy for it, and optimized it for some words, and it worked. And that's become much more complicated now. People see a lot of different things before they come to your website or before they make a phone call to you. They see you on average. Google will tell you on average a customer sees your brand or interacts with it 12 or 13 times before they become a lead. And because of that, it's this idea of a journey, right? Where we're trying to touch people at different places along that journey, and trying to be part of that mix of what they see, so that ultimately when they are ready to make a move and to make a phone call or put in a form submission, that you're the one, or your website is the thing that they last saw, or your directory listing, or your Google My Business listing, or your email, or whatever it is that is part of that journey. So we think about multi-touch. We think about and rather than and or, and doing lots of things in a coordinated way in order to get that visibility that you're looking for. So search engine optimization is the process of getting traffic from the organic listings, right? Those organic listings are free. We're simply trying to fill in that piece of Google that is indexing the websites that are out there, and the off-page elements as well, right? And what that looks like on the search engine results page is this piece at the bottom here called organic SEO. We're trying to be in the natural listings. There are two other places on the search engines which we care about as well. At the top is paid search, or AdWords, or pay-per-click. And that is a discipline within this digital marketing thing where we simply work a problem. You're deciding what keywords you want to bid on, you're bidding more than the next guy, and you're managing your position in that place. It's a very quantifiable, very doable thing. And if you're good at it, you can manage that very well to a cost per lead. And we think it should be a piece of every program that runs. Then in the middle, there's maps. And there are lots of strategies around maps. I'm going to show you some of them here in a little bit. Ways to show up in the maps and to show up ahead of your competitors. And we certainly want to do that. We'd like to have the right geographic signals happening on your website so that you show up prominent in maps. It's an important thing. And then at the bottom is organic SEO. So we're really thinking about, when we think about SEO, we're thinking about the two things called local and organic, right? And what's Google looking for? If you're Google and you're making money on the paid listings, then what you want is to have there be a lot of trust in your search engine for the visitor when they come to that search engine and search for something, that they know they're going to get a good result. So they're trying to sort through the organic results and make sure that those are the best possible things that they could be, so that people will continue to come back to the search engine and see the paid listings. And that's where they make money. So they're interested in the quality of those organic listings. They're interested in the quality of the map listings. And so a lot of what we see them doing is designed to sort out the real from the not real, or the people who are gaming the system in some ways and trying to show up higher than they should be, or trying to show up in places where they don't exist, or all of those kinds of things. And trying to make sure that those organic listings are the best that they could possibly be, so that the customers will come back and continue to use that search engine before they go looking for another option, right? How we can think about that, right? How that matters to us is the more we feed this geo capability, right? This idea of what's the best, closest listing that is for the search that's happening. What's the most relevant content, right? We want to make sure we're mobile friendly, because on Google search engine, well north of 60% of the search right now is happening on a mobile device. And we want to cultivate this digital footprint. We want to be in all of these places, so that, going back to that multi-touch customer journey, we're able to touch that customer all along that path. And ultimately, when they're ready to make a decision, or reach out to somebody to help them make a decision, that we're there for them, right? So we want to be in a lot of different places. Signals that influence visibility, and we need to think about this as we're working on websites and working on listings and mobile phones, and we need to think about proximity for sure, right? How are we telling the search engine where our business exists, right? What methods are we using to do that? Relevance. We want to make sure that we use the right kind of language on the website and the right kinds of words that match up with the customer that we want to have come to us, right? So if we're talking about something in a certain way, that's going to bring us a certain kind of customer, and we want to make sure we're doing that. Recency is obviously very important. Google thinks about not only how much content you have on your site and what kind of content it is and what kind of quality it is, but how often do you interact with that content? And the way I think about that is very simple. If it's important enough to me to be dealing with it a lot, then it must be good, right? And if it's something that I think about a lot and something I touch a lot, Google's going to take that signal and the theory is, or the thinking is, that must be better content than something else. So they're going to take it to that next level and try that content on some visitors, who are then going to tell them whether they like it or not in ways that they measure, right? And then the last thing is prominence, where we're trying to figure out how to be in a lot of different places all at once, how to leverage digital activities. We have a Surefire local marketing cloud, and the goal of that, the idea behind that, is to leverage these activities so that you can do a lot of this stuff all at once. Because if you're trying to do it the old way, it's very, very difficult. There's too many things to do to really be able to impact this whole thing on your own. So again, two types of SEO: maps and organic, right? We think about those two things a lot. Organic listings, and really, to some extent, maps, are impacted by all of these what we call on-page SEO tactics, right? So you've got keyword selection, you've got meta descriptions and title tags, things that there's places on websites where and I'm going to show you some of those in a second, but where we actually can input certain kinds of words and to be helpful to a visitor, and to indicate the kind of content that's on a page, so that it helps Google to index that content and sort it out versus all the other content that they're trying to figure out, right? There's a thing called alt tags, where we manage the things that the tags that are attached to images, again, to help Google to understand what that image is about, so that when a customer is looking for that thing, they can serve that visitor to that customer, right? So all of these things become tactics we use to better tell Google what our content is all about, and have them serve it up to customers. Off-page is the things we do on other websites. So you hear a lot about on-page optimization. Not a lot of people talk about off-page. The way we think about off-page is it's about getting links, right? We want to be able to publish things somewhere else and have that somewhere else link back to our website. And that's a vote of confidence. So if somebody on a website out there has a piece of your content, or has seen some of your content and they decide to link their website back to that content, that's a vote for that. That's a vote that says, this is good content, you should notice it, right? You should read it. And when you get a lot of that, Google notices that and says, oh, this must be really good content, because look at all these people that have linked to it. Look at all these people that have liked it. And because of that, that content will tend to rank higher than content that doesn't get links. So we think about that, and as we think about SEO strategies, we think about ways to get people to link to our content, and ways for good websites. You know, the bigger and more important a website that links to you, the more value that link has. So we want to try to get good links back to websites, and that will ultimately result in more prominence for the site that receives the link, right? So link building is the process of getting other pages to link to a page on your site. It's one of the many tactics we use, and like I said, I think about it as a vote. We also do social media. We get a lot of questions about this. People are always saying, should I do social? Should I be involved in Facebook and whatever? And the way we think about those is that there are certainly reasons to do them, right? It's not like a link necessarily, but it's a signal for sure. And the more active you are in social, that gets noticed, and that's part of how websites get sorted out. It's also a way for you to talk to customers in ways that are very kind of human and natural, and people like to do business with people, and social is a way for you to humanize a business and to make it more friendly and to lower that barrier of what it takes for somebody to put in a form or a phone call and come to you as a lead. So we like to engage social as one of those tactics that we use. We don't necessarily look to it too much for lead flow. It's not the same thing as like pay-per-click, where I'm spending $1 and I'm getting a lead. But we think that social belongs as part of any functioning SEO program. And then there's a thing we call technical SEO, which is that there's a lot of work on the back of a website that is about making it more crawlable, making it fit into the Google index better, making it fast and clean and well organized. And the more we do that, we find that those websites succeed as well. And it makes sense. If Google is measuring, how easy it is for a customer to use your site, which they clearly are, and your site has a lot of errors on it, it goes to a lot of 404 pages, or it takes 7 seconds to download a page and all of that, that site's not going to do as well, because customers are going to leave it. So we try to make sure that the sites are clean and fast and easy to navigate and easy for Google to index. And that there's a whole area of technical SEO that is designed around making that happen. So it's really about website performance and the friendliness of that site to the visitor, and the ease of somebody being able to find what they need on that and to use it. So Jenny, I think you had a comment at this point, right?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. You can take a break, and while he takes a break and gets some water, I want to jump in and tell you all a personal story about SEO, actually. So before I started working with Surefire, I was opening a new restaurant here in the DC area, and I was in charge of the marketing. I was getting them listed in all the online directories, reaching out to get news sites to publish our opening, and also trying to build a great website for them. And, I really wish I had someone helping me with the technical part of the SEO, because I wasn't super familiar with websites and how to do all that back-end technical stuff. Now, maybe you know how to do all that, or maybe social media or link building or the content are your strengths here. But either way, it's a lot for a person to do on their own, and it's hard to be an expert when you're focused on running your business. So to really see the best results with your SEO, you need to partner with a digital marketing expert like Surefire Local. We'd love to learn about your current situation, how we could possibly help you. So Steve, if you can launch this poll now. We're scheduling one-on-one calls next week on Tuesday and Thursday. So the poll's open. You can pick a time, and if neither of those days work for you, please email me to pick a time, and we'll help you pick out the best time that works for you. I know we have some of our current customers on this webinar. It's good to see you. you can reach out to your digital marketing coach and they will be able to help you further if you have any more questions. Bob, and I think we have a question here for you.
Okay.
It was actually about social media. So I know you sort of touched on this earlier, but they say I keep hearing that I should be posting on Facebook all the time to help my SEO. But does posting on social media really impact my ranking? Like, I know you said it's a sort of a signal, but how strong would you say that is?
I would say it's a medium signal. I don't think it's a direct thing where, you know, you'll notice that if you post twice as often, you know, the site starts moving north. I think it's a piece of what you should be doing. It's one of those, it's a soft signal that is really about, you know, your total activity online. We certainly think that Google measures all of it, but I don't think that they necessarily rank sites higher when they're active on Facebook, for instance. I think it has a little bit of an impact in the algorithm. I think it has a lot of an impact with the customers. I think when you have customers coming to your site and they see people and they see that you're active in social and there's a lot of interesting things happening at your company, and you know, you look different to the outside world than just an institution that, you know, happens to be in the X business, then I think that's a way to differentiate yourself. So that's a much better use of social than trying to think about it in the terms of, you know, if I do social, I'm going to get more leads. I think it's about the quality of your visitors and helping your customers kind of lower those walls before they come to you.
Okay, good answer. I hope that helps. And with that, we'll close up the poll and we'll let you get back to the presentation.
Okay, good. So we talked about maps a little bit. I'm going to show you some things specifically that we do around maps that we think are important in you know, how all this works. One of the you know, things that we talk about is this idea of schema and some code that we put on the site that helps us to tell Google where we are. And so take an example like this, right? We've got this page here that says, how can we help you? And you can put in a zip code in there, right? You can put in services. I need a window replacement in my town, right? And it will take you to that place. It will you know, take you directly to, you know, what those services are. And then when people are searching for this place, when they're searching for this service, and this is the kind of code that we put on the back of that website that helps them to understand what business the website is in and where it physically is located, so that it can match that visitor who's looking for services in a particular place with a website that exists in that place and that can help them to solve their problem. And this is what that looks like on the outside of the website. Just what the customer sees is just, here's our address and contact us. But what we're really doing is we're telling the search engine in a coded way, we're kind of putting a flag on that and saying, hey, notice this is where we live. And when you're looking to put a customer together with a website looking for this kind of service, you know, you can serve this website up. We find that that's an important way that Google sorts out the you know, potential you know, results for these different keywords. They tell us in no uncertain terms, if you have a thing you can mark up and tell us what kind of content it is and tell us whether we should trust it or not, we would like you to do that. They want us to mark up addresses, mark up reviews, mark up all kinds of different content. So that's one of the strategies that we use, and really important. The other way we do physical location is Google My Business, and we know that's a very important way that Google uses to decide where a website exists and where its market area is, right? It used to be 10 years ago that, you know, if we were a roofer in Houston, we would have a page in the, you know, in the site, and it would say, you know, if you're looking for a roofer in Houston, we're the best Houston roofer in Houston, and by the way, we're a roofer in Houston, and wouldn't you like to have a roofer in Houston? And that kind of, you know, spamming became all over the internet, and it became very difficult to read. And it now is not even part of how we do this. We don't think about it that way. You don't thread geography through the content. It's not important to do it. Google reads natural content, but they use this Google My Business element here to decide, to let you tell it, right? Where am I? And what's the radius around this place where I want to receive customers? So now I have a website that's tied to this Google My Business listing. And so I'm telling Google, serve this website up for these services in this radius. And in a very kind of purposeful way, I'm helping them to make sure they give those customers in that blue circle the right result when they're looking for the thing that I sell. So there's some best practices around this, right? Actual addresses only. Standing up a Google My Business page for a post office box is not a good deal. Google doesn't want you to do that, and they will eventually kill that listing. One Google My Business listing per location, right? Having 5 GMB location, GMB listings for 5 different businesses. Again, 4 of them are going to disappear, and maybe even the 5th one. The idea, the thinking behind this, the way that Google tells us to think about it, is you want to look online the way you look in the real world. And so we just try to think about making sure that the customer is visible in the place where they are, and that we don't try to game that. We try to make sure that that's as clean as possible, and that it's connected to the website that we're trying to rank, so that we can get that radius set up with them, and they will serve us up in that area. And so everybody wants to rank in places where they don't live, right? Everybody's trying to get in different geographies and different cities and all of that. And there are ways to do that. There are service area pages. We set service area pages up on almost all of our websites, where we have these areas we serve, and then drop downs for either counties or cities. And so people can find those places on the website if they want. And we find that those pages actually will rank. And again, there are some best practices here, right? We need to have unique content on those pages. Just having 72 pages where the only word that changes is the city, that's not a good deal. You don't want to be doing that, because it's duplicate content. It's confusing to the visitor. It's confusing to the search engine. So we try to do those with unique content, make them meaningful and natural, and really designed to help the visitor understand that in that place you do business in A, B, and C, right? And we tend to start small. We don't try to light up 200 of those things all at once. We try to keep them close to the business in the important zip codes that they're trying to be present in. And we find that those, over time, they do get in the index, they rank, they get leads. It's a strategy that can help you to be a little more present in those areas where, for certain things, Google may not be serving you as well, or you just want to kind of try a little extra to be there. The key is not to be unnatural with this, not to abuse it, and just kind of be very careful with how you go at that. Map presence, right? Along with the schema that we're doing, and along with the management of Google My Business, we're also thinking about maps in terms of reviews. Reviews are very important to your presence in maps. We find that in the ordering of the companies in different geographies with maps, the ones that tend to be on the first page are ones that have lots of reviews and lots of stars on those reviews. So we encourage people, and we give them tools in the cloud to be able to get more reviews and to be able to raise their review score, because we think that matters in maps. We know it matters with customers. All the surveys indicate that when customers see you have a good review score, they come to you more and they trust you more. So that third party kind of social proof that you get from a review is very, very important. And it will help you not only with the customer that you're kind of talking to in that lead situation, but it will also help you with the search engines in terms of getting listed on maps. There's lots of different things, there are little nuances to these things, and Google My Business drives some of this, but there are things like opening hours. And we see a lot of people, like new people that come to us who haven't had anybody working on this for a while, or maybe the company they were working with wasn't doing as detailed a job as they probably could have been. And we find that things like opening hours are not done on their GMB listings. That's an opportunity, right? That's something that should be done, because what happens is Google is now setting this up so that I can look at what day I only want to see results, for instance, that are open on Saturday, because I'm going to go and do this thing I want to do today. And so no point in putting up listings that aren't open. And if you're a company that has a Google My Business listing and you haven't set your opening hours, you're not going to show up when customers sort like this. So there are lots of little things that we have to think about. And as Google gives us more capability to tell them things about us and to, separate us from the rest of the people out there trying to rank for those words, these are little strategies that can kind of move the ball forward a little bit at a time. So there's organic, right? Now that we're kind of done talking about maps, there's this idea of content SEO, and we think of content SEO as just the way that we manage the content on the site to be the most helpful to that customer about that product, right? So if I'm going to put a page up about, optometry, about some particular eye condition, I want to make sure that page is well written and authoritative about that particular thing. And I'm much more likely to have Google rank that if it's an authoritative page that's well done than if I put up 50 words that don't mean much, right? Or that I'm just trying to get some words on the page, but really not educate that customer. So we've now moved to a place where we're trying to say the best thing. We're trying to tell people in a qualitative way, the best possible, page for that thing, because there's a lot of competition out there. So again, paid search at the top, and then we're working this local SEO and organic SEO to be in the natural listings. Every page on every website has common elements to it. So if you look in your browser at the top, there's a title tag. That title tag gets put in the index, and Google decides which pages are going to get shown for which result by looking at the title tag. They also look at the H1 header, which is the heading on the page, right? What are we looking for, right? What kind of services are on this page? Content, right? There's a content area on every page. We have moved more towards a kind of long form content, at least on blogs, because we think they end up getting more traffic over time. Links, the search engines look for links. They want to see that kind of interplay between the different services and how we have that all organized, and how structured that website is, and how navigable it is. There's pictures on websites, obviously, as well, right? Every page should have some kind of an image on it. And we manage the picture against the alt tag for that photograph, and making sure that that's relevant to the content that's on the page, right? So once we've done all of that, right, and we've got the website standing up and out there, in the index, trying to get traffic, we're working with data, right? So the two biggest forms of data, and we have a Surefire marketing cloud that has 38 different sources of data. But on the Google side, the two things that matter the most are analytics and Search Console. And what they are is tools that Google gives us in order to try to understand more about the traffic that's coming to the site. So we've got this ability to look not only by what kind of traffic, whether it's organic or direct or paid, but where it's coming from. Am I getting traffic from my home state? And if I'm not, right, if I'm located in Maryland and the majority of my traffic comes from somewhere other than Maryland, then I really need to be thinking about, how is my GMB set up, and how have I localized this website? Have I done the right things to tell Google where I am? Because if they don't know where I am, then they're going to serve me in places where I probably don't want to be served. And that's the whole why we do that technical piece, and why we do the Google My Business Management, to make sure that we get the right kind of traffic here, right? Location signals. The schema that we put on websites that we showed you earlier, that markup around the address, gets actually taken up into Webmaster Tools, and they serve it back to us and tell us what they see there. And again, if we see something when we look at this that we don't like, that doesn't add up to us, getting more business, right? If it's not correct, then we want to fix it. And so all of these tools that we have, these analytics and the things that we see in Search Console are all around, let's fix things, let's make them correct, let's make them represent what we look like in the real world, so that we will get more, ultimately more business, more visitors. Search analytics is a thing inside Search Console that helps us to understand where the site is actually landing when customers search, right? What's the average ranking of a page, or how much traffic is that page getting? And when I see things like, words that are highly relevant to me on, position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I'm very happy. When I see things that are, average ranking a lot deeper on important words, then we have work to do. And so when we set up search engine programs here, and we set up keyword programs, what we're trying to do is to take words that are winnable, right? Maybe they're on the second or third page of Google, and we want to try to move them to the first page, because we know if they get to the first page, they'll get more leads. And so we use tools like this to set up that program. We use tools to decide which words should we be thinking about, which words should we be writing about, and then ultimately, when we do that and provide the search engine with more of that kind of content, more of it will rank higher, and ultimately, more traffic to the site and more leads to the business. So that's how we think about Search Console. And as I said, taking action really is about using this kind of data, trying to figure out which words are in the right places, which words are not, and focusing on the ones that could be better, with strategies around writing better content, representing the business better in the place that it lives, so that you will see traffic coming from your local market and rankings for those pages in the right place in the search engines. So the kind of the 30,000 foot view of all of that is that, we have a cloud, and the reason we have a cloud is so we can manage all of this stuff, right, with the customers. So we have customers have access to this, we have access to it, we're all looking at the same data, we're all working the same problem, trying to get all of these signals that we've got, the social and reputation and content and directories, and have all of that working together to drive the website, into higher visibility on the search engines, and ultimately more success in terms of ROI for those customers. Okay, so that's the talk for today.
All right, thank you so much, Bob. So like Jenny said earlier, maybe marketing isn't your strength, or maybe you just don't have time to give it the attention it needs. And this is where partnering with a digital marketing technology company like Surefire Local can be a huge benefit to your business. So I'd like to offer you the opportunity again to have a one-on-one call for an expert analysis on your current digital marketing situation. We're scheduling calls for next week on either Tuesday or Thursday, or you can choose to have us email you if neither of those days or times work for you. And this is also a great opportunity for you to see how partnering with a digital marketing company can make a huge improvement on your marketing efforts. And so while you guys are filling out that survey or the poll, we can do some questions that we got. So Bob, if you don't mind doing that, we can do some questions.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Cool. All right. So we got a few questions here. How do you help with increasing reviews or ease of providing a review for the customers?
Well, inside the cloud, there's a function where you can add a customer's name and email and have a message go to them, which will connect to your Facebook and Google My Business accounts. So when that message goes, it says, thank you for doing business with us today. We appreciate it. And if you had a good experience, we'd very much appreciate if you'd go to this place and fill out a review for us. And we find that by using that tool, customers have dramatically increased the velocity of their of their reviews. It's been a really, really amazing difference between where they were and where they are. Automating that process is really, really good because most people struggle with it. Most people have not, kind of mastered that, how do I ask my customers and all of that. So when we gave them that tool, we saw that it really helped. And the customers who get more reviews do better in search. It's just that simple. So we think it's a good thing.
Great. All right. So next one we have is, I have a negative review on Google. Will that show up in search results for my business?
Yes, it will. So the best way to handle that is get more positive reviews. It's not going to go away. You need to answer it. You need to respond to it. Explain what happened. Offer that customer some kind of resolution on it. But you definitely want to respond to it on Google, and then you want to do great work in the future and get more positive reviews, so that one negative one is an aberration, and everybody will forgive you. One or two bad situations. It's when you have, the vast majority of what you've got is not good. That's when, customers don't like that.
Awesome. All right. So next one is, how do I know if I've picked the best keywords and phrases to target?
It's a good question. I think there's no real answer to that. I think you have to kind of watch what's going on, and in Search Console you can follow those words and find out if they're bringing traffic to the site. If you're targeting keywords that are not bringing traffic to the site, then I would say the selection of those words is questionable, right? You'd want to be focusing on words that logically, if they brought traffic to your site, that you could logically say they're likely to be a potential customer for you. And then over time, follow those and just make sure that they're driving more traffic.
All right, so we have two more here before we move on to the Google Home Mini winner. And the next one we have is, how can I see which pages of my website are indexed?
You can go in Search Console, and there's a list of those pages. It's under Search Analytics, and you can look at the keywords that drive traffic to your site and the number of impressions and clicks on those words. And you can also look at the pages that receive that traffic and the average position of those pages and the numbers of clicks that they're receiving. So it's all in Search Console.
All right. And then the last one we have here is, how long does it take to see results from my SEO?
Anywhere from right away. I've actually seen some, we've done some things sometimes and you get an immediate response, until, it can take weeks and months. It depends. Typically what we see is that you see a little impact from it. You can see some things happening early, and then, for it to really take on steam, it's a, few months. But there's no hard and fast rule, because every situation's a little bit different.
Okay. We actually just had one more question come through. So we'll do that one before we move on to the Google Home Mini winner. If you send a review request, if they don't review, is it best to just leave it be or send a follow-up review request?
I think that depends on your relationship with that customer. You don't want to be annoying them, right? You want to be careful that you don't push them too hard. But typically what we recommend is that you talk to them before you send the request, that if when you're fulfilling the work, when you're at the end of the job, let them know that it's coming. And if they know it's coming, they're much more likely to recognize it when it does come and fill it out when they see it. So it's all, to me, it's about expectations and about, making sure that you've said those things up front, and then when you send it, you're much more likely to get it filled out.
Great. All right. Well, I hope those questions, or the answers, helped everyone's questions there. So we will move on to the Google Home Mini winner. And today's lucky recipient of the Google Home Mini is Sarah Cornish. Congrats, Sarah. please email marketing@surefirelocal.com with your full shipping address, and we will get that right to you. So huge thanks to Bob and to all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us. We hope you learned something new, and we look forward to seeing you online at our next webinar. We have one next week. Market Sharp's Tim Moosh is going to be joining us for 5 profit levers most home improvement companies seldom pull. And you can sign up by going to our website or even let us know on here and we will get you registered. Also, please take a minute to fill out the survey at the end and let us know how we did today and what topics you would like to hear about in the future. We love checking out the topics you suggest when we plan out our webinar schedule. Thanks again and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, folks. Take care now.